Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Without further ado, I would like to introduce our fireside chatter tonight, which is who has an advantage, a home field advantage tonight. Martin GUERIN, who is CEO of nyuko. And usually, the first question I ask is, Martin, simply explain us who you are in a nutshell.
Okay.
And I think you have something prepared for us for that.
I'm going to make a quick introduction and then I have a video illustration.
Yeah.
You're right. So shall we sit or should I stay there?
Yeah, of course.
I would like to sit on your on your level, but unfortunately this chair is too high. But I want it to be very convivial, and we are on the same position, really.
So who is Martin GUERIN then?
Yeah. I think I am an entrepreneur, that's the first thing. But let's talk a little bit about how I got there.
Yeah, of course.
And so, first I started to work in big companies, such as Motorola and Sony. My first 5 years were inside big companies. Well, first when I studied entrepreneurship, but I didn't start my company then.
You studied entrepreneurship?
Yeah. It was the first year in '95 that in my business school they had a program about entrepreneurship, and there were only 2 business schools in France at that time who had an entrepreneurship program. That was the first year, and I was there with a few friends, and we were really sensing what could be in the future, because now every business school has an entrepreneurship program. It was the first one. That was pretty interesting. But then I started to work in the industry because my passion was innovation. Mm-hmm. So I worked for Motorola when they launched the GSM in Europe. So it was a very innovative product that I had to put onto the market on the marketing point of view. And then I entered Sony, and Sony at that time, it was in 1995, 96, something like that. Sony was just the Apple of today, even better, because we had all kinds of products on a whole range, and so everybody was dreaming about entering Sony, and there I was, so that was a very good experience. I worked for 4 years at Sony, but then this virus about entrepreneurship got back to me, and that's when I started my first startup. So if I have to make it simple, I had 5 years of my time within key accounts, within big companies, learning how it works within big groups. Then 5 years creating my own startups. I created 4 startups, 3 actually, and not counting one. And then I started accelerating other startups, so working with other entrepreneurs and trying to help them to grow. And I've been doing this for more than 10 years.
And in the big companies, I mean in the corporates, what would you say did you get out of it? Was it that you had objectives, you needed to reach the objectives, the targets, the quarterly reports,
yeah, I had all of this.
Structured a little bit. Do you think that helped you, assisted you a little bit?
Yes, it gives you some structure. You get a sense of what's needed if you want your company to scale. So it's interesting to have this experience. It's really helpful. But then, once you are in this key account, big position, you feel like you want to move, and it's usually too strict for that. So if you are an entrepreneur, sooner or later you will feel like you have to quit and do something on your own.
May I just ask, who in the audience is or was working in a corporate environment at one time? Yeah, okay.
Very interesting.
It's more or less everybody who is following the same path.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what made you quit? I mean, okay, if you work in a corporate environment, you have the advantages, the disadvantages, and so on. But what made you quit or say, okay, now I jump and I do it? Was it the idea? Was it the opportunity? Was it the foolishness?
Let's get into the story.
Yeah,
I was there working at Sony, having a lot of fun selling the product of my dream, because at this time, you know, the Walkman, this small Walkman, these very integrated DV cameras, they were just dream product. And then I thought, well, I need something else, because as I was doing this job, I was also DJing during the weekend with a friend. And so we had to play with records, and it was too heavy to carry the box of records because we had only CDs at that time. It was in 97 or something like that. So we discovered, because my friend was engineer, we discovered a format that was called MP3, and we very, very fast took all our CDs and converted them into MP3. So we were going to our party that we were organizing, and with only one computer, actually two, because it was failing a lot at that time. It was not very safe. So we had two computers, but no disk at all. And there we were playing everything. And when a person would come to us and tell us, can I have this song? We didn't have it. Because I worked at Motorola, I was one of the first ones to use GPRS to download music from the internet. So it was 97, we had very shitty bandwidth, but then we could download music on the fly during the parties, and so there was no way we didn't have your music. So that was something like completely revolutionary when we were doing this. And so, but there was one problem. We had to solve this problem that we couldn't use CDs anymore to rehearse our. So we had to use MP3, but we could only do it with a computer, because a CD, you can put your CD player and walk with it in the metro or whatever, and still listen to your music and prepare your evening. But with MP3, no way. There was no MP3 player at that time. You have to think. MP3 was just a format known by geeks, because it was taken off the DVD format. It was the MP3 layer 3, so it was a format for DVD.
And also, were there a lot of players out there already?
No, there was only one player, Winamp, basta.
Yeah.
And so we were using MP3 with a computer. But then we thought, we need something to bring this MP3 on the fly, on the metro, and doing the jogging, and so we can prepare this. And there was no such tool. So my friend, who was an engineer, showed me once in this room, look, I've taken this little board and I've switched 2 or 3 microcontroller, and there, listen to the music. We had just one memory chip and one converter, and basically a plug, and you could plug the headphone on and listen to your MP3 on a small plug like this with just one battery. I was like, wow, this is very interesting. I mean, I don't need a computer now to listen to MP3. I have this little option.
How
So
did you call it? iPod?
Yeah, that was it. But we were in 97, and there was no such thing on the market, not at all. So I came to the marketing part at Sony with this little box, and I said, look, I think this is the future. We should try to get something. I mean, we are Sony. We should issue such product. And the marketing guy told me, hey guy, you are on the sell team, so continue selling, and let me do my job about creating the product of tomorrow. I was like, probably he's right, but still I feel there is something to be done with it. So, okay, I dropped the idea, and 6 months went by. And at that time, I was selling mini discs product. You know mini disc? I was selling mini disc, and there was a fight between Philips with the digital compact cassette and the mini disc from Sony. We were taking the advantage, but one day I came to this big client. I was key account manager, so I had big accounts. And I came at Carrefour, and I saw this little, how do you say, the window, where I had all my Sony product, window branded Sony, and all Sony products. They are very nice looking. And then there was this strange product that came into my shelf within Carrefour. And this product, I didn't know it. And it was like a cigarette pack, very strange. And then I asked the sales representative that was on the shelf, what is this? I said, well, it's something brand new. You're going to love it. It's something that plays the music in a digital format, and it's very interesting. You connect it to your computer, and you download the music into the device, and then you don't need to convert it into your CD player or mini disc player. Very interesting product. I say, this is very interesting. What is the format that they are using? So I look at the box. I saw MP3. That's the product I was dreaming of. Great. I want this product. How much is it? 75 euros. Okay, no problem. I'll buy one. So I bought one and got by to the marketing department at Sony, and I said, look, this wonderful product, I found it. But it was on my shelf, Sony, and it's taking my sales of mini disc. So I wonder why Sony does not come with such a product. Yeah, but Martin, you are a geek, it will never work anywhere, it's just for geek people, and you bought why? Because you are a geek, but nobody else will buy it. Say, okay, fine. But 6 months later, this product that was the Rio from Diamond Multimedia, who was a company that was selling loudspeakers and keyboards and mouse for the computer industry, so they didn't know anything about electronic, public electronic, and still they sold 1 million of units in 6 months. New market, unknown brand, 1 million units in 6 months. It's like, what is that? Came back to the marketing guy, said, well, this is what we need. We are Sony. We should have issued this product. I'm frustrated that it's not Sony that issued this product. Say, well, don't worry, we'll do it. We'll do a player like this, and it will be very good, and it will be using Attract 3. What is Attract what? Attract 3? I know MP3, but Attract 3, I don't know. So yeah, this is the format we use on the mini disc player. But nobody uses it. Yeah, but we got a computer, and we got a software, and we can convert every CD on Attract 3 and use it into our player. So they decided nobody will use it because nobody knows the format. So yeah, no, but it's an integrated. You keep Sony product all the way along, and you will be using this terminal. That reminds just a little bit about the Apple world, but it was 7 years later. But Sony, that was the strategy of Sony at that time. They wanted to use this Attract 3 format within their player, the digital music player. But it didn't work. It didn't sell, and I was on the first row to know that it didn't sell because I was supposed to sell it. So I was like, we got a problem there, we need to do something. Then, with my friends, still doing the same job, we were using the Rio player, not the Sony one. And we thought, we still have a problem, is that we need to use our computer to do this music, but it bugs all the time. Windows 95 was just a nightmare. It would fail all the time. Windows 98 was not that much better. And so we had a problem with this. We needed to have a product that is reliable to do our parties and that easy to use, because we were the only one to be able to compile all kind of software in our computer in order to do the job. So because we were geek, we could do it, but no one else could do it in the general public. So that was the point of the idea. So we were fighting against this rupture between people who could use the new technology, benefit from downloading music, sharing music with friends, and the people who just couldn't because they didn't know anything about it. And we thought we need to democratize all of this technology to make it accessible for the great number. And even by a grandfather, it should be able to use a product like this. But instead of using a computer, it has to be an everyday device. So what we need to do is to make a hi-fi system, a pure hi-fi system with hi-fi technology and very good sound quality, and connect this hi-fi system to the internet. And why not put a hard drive into it so we can grab the music and store it internally? And then I was comparing it with the product that we were selling at Sony, that was Carousel. We had a CD player with a big round, and you could put 250 CDs vertically, and then there was something that would take the CD and play it on. And this kind of product, the Carousel, the jukebox from Sony, was sold about 1,000 euro. I was like, what is this? When I can use my hi-fi system and a hard drive, and I will put not 250 CDs, but 600, 800, 1,000, no problem, and it's very light and very, very, very usable. So from this idea, we decided to create the first hi-fi system directly connected to internet, enabling you to download onto your MP3 player without a computer, with an interface very easy to use with a touch screen, which was completely new, and enabling you to stream music from the internet, from radio station online, download music from secure place, and eventually listen to interviews or use all kinds of services integrated within the device. I'll just explain a little bit. That's where it started, from an idea and from a usage that was really lacking on the market. And because I was working at Sony and I was disappointed by Sony because I think they were not innovating enough, I decided to quit Sony, even though I had a good job, lots of security, nice position. I decided to quit Sony to start this first startup with my friend engineers. So we hired a few more engineers, raised some money.
You raised money externally?
Yeah.
I mean, from investors or friends and family and other fools? Or
I took all the money I got when I quit Sony. Yeah. All the money I put.
They were happy that you went.
Yeah, but it was not that much. But all of my money was put into this company, And my associate did the same. And from there, we went to see our friends and family, but we didn't ask them money. We would just ask them to invest within our company just to make fiscal optimization, because we were smart already. Because if I give you the money and you invest on my company with your money, then you can deduct part of your income tax. But we were too young and we didn't earn enough money to pay a lot of income tax. So we gave the money to people who paid income tax so they can deduct, and then we have more money within our company.
You were sure that that was in France or in Luxembourg?
That was in France. You know that. Some countries in around Luxembourg did much worse things than Luxembourg did in terms of tax ruling. But we didn't dare in Luxembourg to defend, but it's the truth.
But this means with this construct, you had enough fonds de roulement, working capital to start.
With this first money.
What did you do with the money?
With the money, first we went to see the public foundation, the public organization. It was Banque Anvar at that time. Anvar was it's the BPI France, Banque Publique d'Investissement. And so we told them, okay, we got 200,000. It was French franc at this time when we first started. And so we need the same kind from public money. Here is the plan. And they were very impressed with the business plan we did. And so we got this money, this public money, so we doubled the investment we made. And then we issued a first fact sheet on all the data sheet that showing that we could do it. We bought a technical study and a marketing study to prove our potential future investors that it was possible technically, and secondly that there was a market for it.
And this means that was theoretically, that was more or less on paper.
Yeah, that was still on paper.
Okay.
So with this, let's say, paperware.
Yeah. That is what you do in the corporate world generally.
Yeah.
That's what you learned there.
Exactly. This big plan, very nice. And then we went to see the investors, and some of them said, okay, great. So one thing I have to tell you first is that one reason why the investors got into our startup is that our first investors were my ex-boss, my N+3 at Sony, so the general director of Sony, invested 100,000 into my company. My former teacher at HEC in France invested also into my company, so I had a very, very famous teacher, very big director. Then I went to see my accountant, and my accountant saw the business plan and said, well, this is a cash cow, I want to give you money. So my accountant invested into my company, so he couldn't be my accountant anymore. So I lost my accountant. But he was very proud of that, and when I was telling my investors, look, my accountant watched and invested, so you think it's a good plan? They were still believing it was a good plan.
And I mean, okay, you had all this, and when were you finally able to have a product, a prototype, in order to go to the market? When was that?
After this first round of money, it was about 2 million at that time, we started to develop the product really, and that's the video I wanted to show you. We are in 2001. The startup is about 1.5 to 2 years old.
And did you have already sales at that moment?
Actually, the plan was we would develop this hi-fi system and get money either from the selling of the product. So I sell you a product and then you do whatever with it, or I sell it to Fnac, and Fnac give you this product for you to put at home, so you have a Fnac in each home.
Okay.
But it was a model that was interesting at this time. You know, Canal Plus, Canal Plus, the paid channel. They were giving the box, the decoder. They were giving you the decoder so you can get the program. We explained this to the investors. We are going to give them a box that they are going to be able to download music into, and so we are going to get money from the transactions of music or concert tickets that we can sell through the device. So it's just a shop that you will be putting in every house, that basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was the idea, and then two business models. First one, you buy the product and you decide which will be your music provider. Like second one was I get directly to the B2B actors,
Mm-hmm.
sold them the 5,000 product, and then they would give it to their best customers to have a shop within their house. It's like Freebox, basically. You know, Free. That's what they did. They put a gateway within the home to sell TV channels and download music also and all kinds of products. But we were thinking about this model way before.
But that thinking of saying, okay, these are the various distribution channels which are possible and the possible revenue streams, did that come naturally, or was it a little bit trial and error?
As we didn't have, the problem we had is that we couldn't make any money unless we had this product actually in the house of the people. So the startup was very cash demanding at the beginning because we had a lot of R&D before we can make the first euro. Okay. That was the problem of the startup. But thanks to the story, we could get the money. We found a way to get the money to develop the prototype. And then there was another round of investment of 37 million, which were enabling us to roll out the first pre-series that was supposed to go part at Fnac, part at other resellers. The good point I had is that being a key account manager at Sony, I knew all the distribution channels very well. They were my friend. I was seeing them every month. The director of Carrefour, of Fnac, I was talking with them. I was selling them Sony products. So when I got out of Sony, I called all of them and tell them, I have this idea. I want to create this product. That's why I'm quitting Sony. Do you think it's interesting for your company? And I had Connection who told me, yeah, and we got exclusivity for it. We are going to sell it. Fnac said the same. And so I had my customers already. And I was working with the resellers of the product before we even created the startup. So I was very credible when I would say, I'm going to send that many units at this client, that many units at this client, and I know the market very well because I've been selling them 50,000 hi-fi systems last year. So I know how much they sell, I know who are their clients, I know how it works.
You know the margins and so
Yeah, I knew exactly what was going to be good, a good equilibrium. So that's how I got the first round of investment.
And with that one, I mean, you were then on the sales side, and your partner were they developing it themselves, or did you outsource it?
We did it ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was one of the magical part of my life. I was then, in my office as a startup. And by the way, in Paris at that time, there were like 6 startups. It was just crazy. Now really, there was one incubator in Paris that was created in '97. And so when we came, they had only six desks and one startup per desk. So I came and said, oh, very nice. What's your connection? Yeah, we have a very good 56K modem if you want. It's like, what? At home I had 1 terabyte. Why? Because I was one of the first ones to be connected to the cable network in Paris. I was one of the first 1,000 customers, and we were sharing the whole bandwidth for only 1,000 customers. So we had incredible bandwidth at home, and there I had to go in this incubator where I was going back to 56K. So there was no way I could enter this incubator. But still, I went to all the meetings, and that's how I knew the people. And I was accelerated, let's say, by a girl at this time that was running the incubator. And that's how I learned from the other side what is it to be coached by an incubator. And what is important, what's not important, where I think I'm wasting my time. And so when I got to the other side, I knew exactly what to offer and what not to do. So that helped me to be efficient at that time.
And I mean, that was, okay, you developed it, and how was the feeling to have the first product ready, to see it, to touch it?
I was going to say, I was sitting on my desk and my engineer ran from one room to the other one and said, hey, come on, we've got this first screen working. It's like, what? So I came to the room and I had this a little LCD screen laying down on the table with just an app, some connectors to the computer. And there my friend said, okay, look, I'm going to launch the program. So I launched the computer, and then the screen was lit. And then I saw the logo on my touch screen. And then he said, look, maintenant, this is how it's going to work. So he was pressing on the touch screen, on the table, just to plain connected. And it was all my interface working there, and we could test it. And so I was like, come on, this is possible. I was not thinking it was just possible. I saw this product on the shelves, but I was not thinking that it's possible for a French person to develop such a program. And I was like,
You said it.
yeah. I was, what the hell? And it's happening. It's like just a dream. I mean, taking place in front of me. I was like so passionate about it. I was like, guys, you are God. You are doing the product of my dream. Wow! And so, and we hired the best engineers. And because we had such a good spirit, we didn't have any problem to hire the best ones because we were young. I mean, all these people were out, were just getting their diploma 2 or 3 or 4 years before. So we were all young and very motivated and having fun working on a completely revolutionary product. And when we were talking about these 2 people around us, nobody else could understand what we were saying. Yeah, we can download music, no matter what it is, it will be held on a memory stick. I was like, what are you talking about? No, that's the future. When I told my first customers, you don't need CDs anymore, I was like, there is no way people won't buy CDs. They will always buy CD because they need to have the cover with all the blah blah that's written on the picture of the group. And 10 years later, nobody else was buying CD. But at that time, nobody would believe me. So I knew a few people.
But once you had the product, did you have an influence on how the design was? Was there a lot of work to do for the design so that the end user is taking it over? Or?
Yeah, exactly. We created everything from scratch. So we were very much influenced by Apple, because Apple was issuing the iMac at this time. It was the iMac with the whole bunch of colors. You remember this product? Very round. You press play and then it starts by smiling at you. Then you have this little mouse and all the colors and very, very easy to use. And so that was our inspiration. So the product was round. It was gold because the high-end hi-fi system at Sony were gold at that time. The face was gold. So we developed a gold product, but there was a lot of colors possible also. And it was so easy to use that has never been before. People could just press the screen and get access to the functions that they wanted. And if they were stuck in any part, they could just press one button. And because the hi-fi system was connected to internet and was equipped with a microphone and, of course, loudspeakers, the hi-fi system would connect with the touch of one button to the hotline. And so the people would talk to you within your hi-fi system. So imagine you are at home, you have a problem with your hi-fi system, you press a button, and there the hi-fi system starts talking to you. Hey, how are you? What's your problem? Then you say, hey, where are you? Okay, I have a problem to set up my clock, my waker tomorrow, my wake-up machine. Okay, well, do you allow me to get control of your hi-fi system to show you how it works? Okay. So then, okay, then we will take the control of the hi-fi system from the call center. Click, make little flash where the person is supposed to click. So solve the problem, and while solving the problem, showing the person the path to make it alone next time. So it was a 100% frictionless product.
And did the end users accept it, or was it a little bit too, how shall I say, too disruptive for them?
The end user were just dreaming about it.
Okay.
Every time we talk about this product at that time, the people wanted to place an order.
And did they place an order or not?
Yes, they did. We had 800 back order for the product.
Oh, and how did you deliver them?
I'll tell you this. Yeah. So let me show you the video at the right moment so you see what it looks like. It's here. So here it is. So This startup was called Future Sound Technology. And so this is the HiMuse. HiMuse stands for Hi for Hi-Fi, and Muse for My Ultimate Sound Experience. Because we couldn't communicate on Muse because Muse was already patented. So we had to find another way. So we say the product is it's a trick I'm giving you. The product is My Ultimate Sound Experience, but when you talk, you're not talking about you are using an acronym. So the acronym is Muse, right? So the HiMuse. But I'm not using Muse, right? Anyway, so that's the hi-fi system. You got a CD player here that's a little bit smiling, you see? The product is very round. You could fold this part so you had a handle on the back so you could take your hi-fi system with you to a party and start mixing or doing things if you want. You had very, very simple interface, only 3 functions button, and 1 turn and press thing. Because the people were too much afraid that if the screen, fails, and I cannot touch the screen anymore, then I cannot access my hi-fi system. So all the functions were doubled. You could access it either by pressing buttons or by pressing the screen. People were safe. People were afraid about things that today seems crazy. They didn't want to pay online. They didn't want to put their credit card online. So that's why we had to put the security on chip within the hi-fi system. So inside this machine, you have a chip that's the same level of security than a credit card. So you didn't need to put your credit card number. You could buy music, just like Play Store and Google Store, by the way. But that was 7 years before. And so this is the product. Let me go ahead. So we have nice 3D images on the screen. So you put the CD in, and then the demo, it was very easy because the music was starting to play as soon as you put the CD. And then we were showing, while it was playing, look, it shows the title of the CD. People were like, oh, you are using CD text? Because that was the format at that time. So the CD, the information of the titles are on the CD? So no, I'm using a plain CD. Give me one of your CD. So they gave me one CD, put it in the machine. Here I have the title. Oh, I didn't know I had the title on my CD. No. We had 80% of the titles of the CDs of the world within the device. Only the titles. Mm-hmm. But we had these titles. And the system we were using is very simple. You put a CD on it, it counts how many songs you have and what's the length in minutes and seconds of every track. So that makes a unique identifier that enabled us to connect the title of the CD to the CD. So we could show the CD even if the device was not connected. We could show the CD title. You get it? Mm-hmm. So that was, how can you do this? Blah, blah, blah. We go for it, we explain. Then the thing was still playing, and after 2 minutes, I was demonstrating the interface for the internet access. Mm-hmm. I can take the CD off the machine, but there, I can still hear the music. People was like, how come I take the CD off the CD player and I can still hear the music? Say, well, don't worry. From the beginning, we are not listening to the CD, but we are listening to the copy of the CD within the hard drive. So not only you got your CD in 2 minutes already within your hi-fi system, you can resell it through eBay or put it on your basement, the music is already on your hi-fi system. Secondly, because we use the hard drive to read the music, we have much better decoding of the signal. So we had a better quality in this hi-fi system than most of the regular CD player that was sold at that time, because we were not correcting errors on the fly. We were using other process of the error and then use the hard drive, which was not making any error. So we had also a very good result. So anyway, this was the interface. You could get into the FM and AM radio still. This is your library of music, so you put all your CDs here. This is access to radio station online. Analogical input if you want to digitalize your vinyl or your cassettes. Sleep and wake up functions. Your presets for radio, your playlists. Access to the internet to download your music, so like going to Apple Store or whatever. And listen to a CD. This interface was in 99. So here it shows when you bruise with the mollet, you can I highlight, and then you get into the selling, the shop, the online shop, just like Play Store or iTunes Store. Mm-hmm. At that time, it was Vivendi Universal and MP3.fr. There was only 3 music suppliers in the world.
But how did you make money out of it? Where did the revenues come from?
By selling the music. With Vivendi Universal, the song was about €1, just like on the iTunes Store you pay 79 or €1. And so you could download the music from your hi-fi system, and you would get a share of this sale. Same thing with MP3.fr, and some products, some downloads were free, some other you had to pay. And there was another smart algorithm that enabled us to know what were your tastes. So your taste. So if, for example, you like Madonna, we will let you know, because we see that you listen to a lot of Madonna, we'll let you know that Madonna is coming in concert next to you, because we know where you live. And so we offer to buy tickets for you. So you can buy tickets from Madonna within your hi-fi system directly. And we would get a share of this sale, for example.
And that you all had before you went to the market. I mean, all these, it was not that by...
No, it was planned before. The business plan was about the size of this wall. It was an Excel spreadsheet with that big. Because I came from Sony, so I had to make my pre-sale statistics. So I was using a lot of tables to be very precise on how many units I will sell of which product. So I was using the same techniques for all my business plan. So everything was very, very, very precise. So let's carry on. So there, you click on the Vivendi Universal. You are authentified on chip, so you don't need to pass your password. We know who you are. We tell you if you have mails. Mails could be from your friends sending music, or for your personal actuality, your news about what you like. And there you enter the shop. So there you can download music, listen to radio station, email music to some friends, go into the shop and see your basket, change your profile, because it was very important to make care. People were in control about their data, even at that time. So you could see your profile and decide which information you send to Future Sound and which information you want to keep for yourself. So you had control on your profile. And then the help button, I was talking about you. If you click here, you got the online connection and you are never stuck with your hi-fi system. So that's it. I'll try to shorten a little bit. Some suggestion based on what you like. Some very funny icons. And this was vis-a-vis.
And were there already other, let's just say, peers or other solutions on the market like that?
Not at all.
Okay.
It was completely revolutionary. Completely. It came from nowhere. And this was the design that was supposed to be mass-produced, because the first one was the prototype, the one you saw. And so we went to the MIDEN, you know the MIDEN, Music Industry International Market in Cannes. And in 2001, this was my booth. By the way, we didn't have enough money, so we had the smallest booth we could get. And I had my engineer here, my CTO, my marketing girl that was here, that was a friend from the school. That I stole it from Sony, by the way. so they were not very happy. And there, you see the prototype here, working prototype. And all the music industry were dying because they were afraid that they would be stolen by Napster, Morpheus, Casa, all this peer-to-peer exchange. And so they thought, okay, we're going to die if we don't find a solution. And they were trying to securize the music content, to make box and to put music into box. And so once to open the box, you needed code, but it was cracked all the time. The first box was cracked in 15 days, second box was cracked in 3 days, and third box was cracked in 3 hours. So they started to understand that any software securization was just not sustainable. The only way you could really have a security on such a product was to put the security on the silicium, on the chip. That's what Apple did with the first iTunes Store. So we were already offering this solution, and all the music industry was like, at least we got this secure platform. And they were crazy about it. And so we had CNN that came to the booth and say, come on, this is the revolution of this year. This is what we are going to see in the future. So, and I was a French guy with a completely revolutionary technology, and I was able to speak English. You see how bad I can, but I was still able to speak English, and it was quite seldom at that time. There was no much French guy who could speak, so they were just crazy, and they said, you need to go on CNN, we need to make a report on it. So they did, and this report was shown like 10 times a day in the 5 continents. So we had a very, very big impact for free. And then in France, I became a star. Yeah. So all the newspapers in France started to call me and my team. And I was on the Journal de 20 heures, the newspaper at 8 p.m. where everybody's watching. And I was invited and I had to present the product there. So you can see me, I was and I was explaining how it worked.
But
anyway,
did it
and
help you?
You know, TF1, I told you, no lie, huh? And all of this was just the truth. The funniest part of this story is that what I learned from it is that you should never doubt that. You should never doubt yourself. You should never doubt your idea. You should just put it to the test. And you have incredible surprises. Because there, with this product, what happened is that we had a second round of money. We made 3 rounds. One with friends and family, us basically. One with a VC, where entered my teacher and some other friends. And a second one with the same one, because we made a bridge, because we had in July 2001, explosion of the internet bubble. So the first investors said, don't worry because you are doing hardware, you're not doing, let's say, things online with no real tangible value. So you are not concerned with the explosion of the bubble. But there, all the investors were waiting because they invested a lot of money into startups and they were not in the position to invest into new ones. They had to put more money in the startups that they already had for them to avoid dying and losing all of their money. So
now with this one, did you, with all the coverage you had, did you have sales afterwards?
Yeah.
Did they?
But we had, I told you, 800 people waiting for the product when the product was just at the prototype stage. Mm-hmm. We already had order. If there would have been a Kickstarter at that time, the product would have been launched. But there was no Kickstarter at that time. And there was only a few investors. It was new in France. Huh?
And how did it then, did you move on with, I mean, you had this coverage, you had the, let's say, the orders.
Yeah.
And did you deliver, and what came afterwards? Or
so
what was the difficult?
The plan was to deliver this first 5,000 units, and from there we could bootstrap the system, get enough money to launch the second batch, and then we were safe. But we needed this kickstart for this first bootstrap for the first 5,000 pieces, and we had 2 venture capitalists willing to do it. But what happened after July 2000, it was 9/11.
Okay.
So 9/11, then our investors said, Guy, we love your stuff, we want to go on it, but right now everything is frozen. And so there is no decision that will be taken in the next 3 months. So I say, fine, there is one advice that saved my life at this time. My teacher in the business school told me, you need to have all the time 6 months of cash in advance. So if anything happens to your company, you have 6 months to recover. Actually, you have 1 month where you think about other alternative, 1 month where you try the other alternative, and then you have, at the end of the second month, you take the decision whether you close or not. And there you have 4 months for closing clean. Because I don't want to have any
debtors
to have any deficit when I close the company. So that helped me because at that time I said, okay, well I have 7 months of cash. In 3 months I take a decision. So 3 months, okay, it's the time you need to take your own decision whether you get into the company or not. So we waited a little bit, and then after 3 months I said, okay, they are telling us we want to come, but we cannot come now, we will come later. Say, well, fine, but I'm taking the decision myself. and we are going to switch the business model of the company.
Okay.
So we switched to plan B. Plan B was we developed product for the partners.
Mm-hmm.
So some of our technology were sold to other corporates that were trying to catch up in this industry.
Did you sell it or license it?
Yeah, we sold
Was it an asset sale?
Yeah, actually we sold, we developed product for them, including our IPs.
Okay. Yeah.
So we used our technology to develop different products that they could sell, but when we were developing this product, we integrated some of our technology, so they would buy it without knowing that it's our technology, but that would enable us to get money from our internal R&D. So this is how we got money, and it started working pretty well because we were very, very leading in 3 fields. Linux, we had a version of Linux, very specific, very lightweight, that could work on very light processors, so cheap. We had a very, very innovative interface with icons and press touch screen. And we had also a very good knowledge into real-time processing because we were streaming music in all kinds of directions and expertise in database. So we sold this expertise with our engineers, developing other products, not this one, but in order to make money. And we made money.
Yeah, and this decision to swap,
Switch business model.
Yeah. How was it taken? Was it taken by the management? Yourself, or was it taken with the partners, with the shareholders, or how was it?
It was taken by no choice.
Yeah, because
no
that
choice.
it must have been difficult.
Yes, it is. It was difficult because our engineers that we hired, we were paying them low salaries, but they had in return a very, very interesting experience and a very innovative product, and they were working on dream product.
Yeah.
Once we told them, okay, now you are going to work for this corporate doing something else, and you are going to be paid less than if you would do the same thing within your former employer, then they start to say, but I'm not doing what I'm not. It's not correct anymore. It's not equilibrated. So yes, it was a problem. So at that time, I also took decisions on how to start resizing the company because we had another plan. We didn't need that many people. We were 15 in the company, 15 employees. So I was the company was valuated 13 million in the last round. And it was the lowest we could get because there were anyway. So what happened is that the engineers, every time we had the opportunity to place them within our customers, we would do it. Okay. So our client would say, we like the product, we did a good job. Can we get the engineer? We say, okay, fine, you can hire it. So he would leave the company. So no one in our company didn't get a job after that. Everybody got another job, a good job, except for one. A trainee. But anyway, it was a long story.
But your corporate structure, you had some investors and so on, partners. How was the percentage? Did you, as the management, have the biggest share, or was it a little bit different?
With my co-founder, we had the biggest share.
Okay, so you had the decision power.
Yes.
And when you did, this tough decision.
But it was hard to keep this. We fought to get it. Because we made 3 rounds of money raising, so we could have lost the control. But from the very beginning, we had this, because we learned, it's 10% on the first round, between 15 and 20 on the second one, and between 15 and 25 on the third one, maximum. And because it's percentage of percentage, you should get it at 49% at the final stage. Yeah. So that was the strategy. So we still had the control of the company, but the control is, by the customers, by the market, in reality. It was just a question of money.
Yeah, but as you said, you had tough decisions to make. Yeah. And would you say that the difficult decisions are better taken on your own, or together as a consensus
of course,
with
that's
the
what
team?
It was always decision taking by the team.
Yeah.
I would discuss it with the team. Here's the situation. This is what the different options we have. I think this is probably the one we should, but what do you think? I mean, I had engineers, one of the best ones, so I needed to use their brain also. Huh? So some of them didn't know, some of them were thinking about their own interests, so there was some confrontation, but positive confrontations.
And when did you have the feeling that it was the time to let loose? I mean, as you said, you changed, and then it wasn't anymore the nice, the sexy thing you wanted to do. And that, for me, that sounded a little bit that you had a little bit written it off in your heart, and that eventually you were looking for something else also. When was the time, and how did you go about it?
It's when you get tired, because after a while you fight a lot, and then you have to take decisions. You get tired of fighting all the time. You don't see any other options, so you decide to take a decision, and that's the last part of the story. So these investors couldn't get into the company, but we were already running Plan B, remember? And so Plan C was, okay, now we sold the end of the first. The Plan B was we make a company that makes money off our know-how, but it's a sustainable company. And the third option was, anyway, all the IP that we have, we could sell it and still get money. And that's what we did. So in 2003, we had been working for 2 years with really short money, bad situation, not following our plan, on Plan B, kind of boring. But then we got investors on the table and say, hey, there's two options. Either you put the money on the table and we carry on our plan and we realize what we signed for, or we are not mad at you, but we will just close the company, give you your money back, and do something else. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And we wanted to, somehow we went to this point. We got them on the table and we discussed with them, and they said, well, we would love to give you this money, we would love to work on it. Problem we have is we are not in the position to do it right now. And if you are telling us that you have enough money to give us the money back, we are very much interested, because no other startup is in the same situation that you are. We were the only ones surviving right now. We were surviving when everybody was dying around us. We were surviving, and we told them we would give you the money back. They're like, what is this startup? Startup not failing and giving us the money back? I said, wow. So I said, yes, we can do this. So they said, we would like to get this money back. And my friends and I, we were like, okay, let's drop this thing and create something else.
Then you created something else together with the same people?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. That's what we did. A second one and a third one.
Yeah.
Not always with the same people, but parts of them.
I mean, there was the core, like, I mean, you have the PayPal mafia in Luxembourg, you have the Monster mafia, and so on. I mean, you always have the core of the people who...
You need to know, it's a question of network. You need to know who are the good engineers, who are the good business developers, what are the tricks, how do you get this public help, who is the guy you need to ask advice to. So I had all of this ready to go. And so we decided to make a liquidation of the company when we still had more than 1 million cash in the company. So we could have still, go to the end and die like everyone. But no, we said no, we control our destiny. So we decide to give you the money back. So if we start another thing, you will still give us some money. So the first round investors got about twice what they invested. Second round of investors were about break even. And the two other one, mostly VCs, they lost a little bit. They lost like 70% of their investment, but but it's not everything. They lost 70%, but actually they didn't lose any money because of that trick, because they were insuring with COFAS the investment that they did in our startup. So they got this 75% back from the insurance that they took when they invested in our company. So actually, basically no one lost money in this story.
It's like a bank. It's like a bank. They also take care of it. But then, I mean, you had these several steps, and how did you come on the other side to assist people who would like to create a startup, realize their dream? How did you do that move? How did that come?
it came to me. What happened is that I had this story, and some people would know it, not everybody, but some people would know the story. And when I was in charge of selling the company by parts, I was not full-time. I was only half of my time. And I was boss very young, 21. I had 15 guys working for me. A company evaluated 13 million, which was enormous at that time. And I was the only French guy, one of the only, to understand how it worked. So, but it was hard to be a boss, especially when this weather was so bad between 2001 and 2003. Very, very bad weather for a startup. And my employees, it was hard, to say, okay, well, sorry, you took my risk, you came to me, and now you are going to be fired. But I'm going to take care that you find a job, so we are even somehow, but it was not good. So I wanted to learn to be a better manager. So I learned about coaching before it was popular in by 2003. I learned about coaching in the US, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to study coaching. It will be a way for me to manage my team, but not in an authoritarian way, in a participative way. And I wanted to be a smart manager, not an authoritarian manager, but a contributive manager. So I learned coaching for this reason. And then the city of Paris called me and said, hey, Martin, you create a startup. You got all the public help you could. You got investors. So now you know how to coach people, and you know the technology. So how about if you make a bigger incubator than the one we have? Instead of 6 startups, we make we take 1,000 square meter. We put 20 to 25 startups there, and you could run it. Say, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Why not? I'm going to try if I am a good coach now. So it was just to try myself, see if I was going to be a good coach.
And was the time ripe that the budding entrepreneurs would say yes? Okay, you have an incubator, an accelerator. You go for some reasons there, especially to get assistance and also probably. And then. How did that develop? You had that one, and did that develop well?
It did. It was just like a forest fire. We just lit, and then it just burned everywhere. Everybody wanted to come into this incubator. We were taking only one project out of 10 candidates, so very, very selective. And it was full all the time. We had a waiting list, like 6-month waiting list before you could get into the incubator. So it worked very well. And so the city said, well, we need to get more, make more. So, well, yes, it's true. But I've did it, so now I'm leaving. I'm creating another startup because I shortened the story. I had 2 startups during that time. I shortened. So they said, okay, well, how about if we make another one about social media, about advert game, smart game. That's interesting. How about if you work on social media like Facebook, like the new things, the new trends? Say, well, that's interesting. Besides, this incubator will be 2.5 the size of the first one that you created. So, okay, I'm going to try. So I did it, and same story. It was full in 6 months, and then we had a waiting list.
And here, when you came here, here you are now in charge of nyuko, which is also kind of, it's an accelerator, incubator a little bit, and so. How do you see it here? Because first, Luxembourg, even if you were in the city of Paris, Luxembourg as a country, we don't have this, or shall I say, we are a country which is not producing. We are more consuming. We are more
into services.
Yes, services, back office, and administrative services. Not so much into production and so on. When you came here, what was your first feeling, or what were your first thoughts? Was it, oh gosh, and then you run away, or you said, okay, it's a nice challenge?
Well, you have to understand how it worked in Paris, so you will understand why it was interesting for me. Because so the story of Paris was just crazy. When I entered Paris Incubator, where I helped launching this first incubator, there was only 40 startups in Paris, 40. And now they are counting 22,000 in Paris right now, 22,000 startups. So from 40 to 22,000, imagine the journey. It was just incredible. The past 10 years in Paris was just crazy. We were opening an incubator every year, and it was filled. And then all the corporates came to us and say, yeah, we need to make open innovation with your startups. And we had more than 250 startups hosted on a day in our incubators, 10 incubators, 10 generalist incubator plus another 10 corporate incubators. So very big thing. Then I was ready to leave, and I had another project, and Nicolas Buc called me, actually not Nicolas Buc, but one of the investors that was on the round at Future Sound Technologies, who still I had contact with because I was making meetings between investors and startups all the time during that time. So I knew all the investors in Paris, and they knew me. And so one day, one investor came to me and told me, hey Martin, you told me that you wanted to go abroad, because I was saying that next job would be outside of France, because I knew, so I wanted to go away. And so you said you wanted to go away. How would you look at Luxembourg? It's like, Luxembourg, that was not my first thought. Okay, to tell you the truth.
We have the nice weather, the wine, the rivers.
It's like, I have to think about it. Why not? I'm not closing any door, but not convinced. But so then say, hey, do you mind if I give your number to a guy that will call you? And it was Nicolas Buc. So Nicolas Buc called me one day and said, hey, you are Martin GUERIN, yeah. So I heard you know about entrepreneurship. I said, well, I don't know. And we talked about it and said, yeah, we got this incubator in Luxembourg. I think you should have a look at it and come here one day. So it was just, okay, let's try it. So I came here, visited the nyuko, thought it was nice, very original. Nicolas Buc was very, very impressive by its energy. And I spent the whole day here. So I had meeting with every guy working in the team. Every single guy, I had an hour meeting with them. And so I found out that the team was good. The people were very, very implicated. The business, the building was nice. And the opportunity was very interesting. I thought what I'm missing right now, and we are still missing it in Paris, is the international from day one part.
Okay.
Because the Paris ecosystem is so self-sufficient that the startup do not need to be international from day one. They can perfectly start with their own local market. Where in Luxembourg it's quite different. You have to be international from day one here, because otherwise the market is not big enough, right? So I thought that was interesting. And the second part was my wife also, who said, yeah, why not? She was raised in Verdun, so it's not very far. So yeah, let's go for it, try. So it's okay, I'll try for 6 months, and it's 1 year ago, I'm still here. So I was like, I kind of fell in love with Luxembourg, actually. I thought there is a lot of ambition, there is a real potential here. That's why if I believe in it, otherwise I wouldn't have come. I believe in this potential. There is so much work to do. That's just incredible. And the first thing we should work on is we don't have any engineers. We don't have any software developers, except for Web for 3. Okay, fine. But that's not enough. One of the reasons why the startups went so fast in Paris is because we had very good business developers working or drinking at night with very good engineers. Yeah. And while they were drinking, they were saying crazy stuff, but those crazy stuff could actually have a market. And so that's what we need maybe here. We need more engineers, we need more business developer school, and we need to mingle and mix between these business developers and these people. I don't think people do not have less ideas here. No.
I mean, are there perhaps some questions after?
How is nyuko going to interact with the loft?
Very good question. Very precise though. What's nyuko, by the way? Because some people know, what is nyuko? Nyuko is a startup accelerator. What is it, a startup accelerator? It's a public startup accelerator. That means that we do not take equity, but we help the company to grow faster, to find money, find mentors, find clients, and get access to knowledge. That's basically what we do. So we got 3 acceleration programs, from the idea to the business plan or to the prototype, if we are on a lean process. Then from this prototype to the first client, 3-month program. And then from this first client to scale, that means international development, because we are in Luxembourg again. Second, we have a business mentoring program. Third, we got a guy that do fundraising the whole day, and last year he rose 4 million. I'm going to get to your question. and
He's
so
a sales guy.
yeah. So point is, how do you accelerate startup? First, when it's you can make no particular sector. You can be a general incubator with all kinds of subject when you start. But once the startups start to get more mature and has defined more precisely the product and their market, what you need is an accelerator that's really focused on your sector, because you have access to a particular sector, particular people, particular funding. So it needs to be a sectorial incubator. So that's where the loft comes in. Because the idea is that nyuko stays on the position early stage somehow and generalistic. But once the startups start to grow, they need a sort of acceleration on a particular sector. So if you are in the industry, you may want to go to Paul Wurth. If you are in a phone industry, you may want to go to the Vodafone new accelerator that they are issuing. If you are in the automotive industry, you might want to go to the ALD accelerator next to here. Mm-hmm. And if you are in fintech, you might want to go to the loft. And the difference between the loft and all of these first incubators I told you about, those are models that we've been experimenting for more than 10 years in Paris. So you have the multi-corporate incubator, where you decide to put together lots of corporate in the same business because they have a common interest. That's the model of the loft. So they got 10 banks in the same sector going together to make one accelerator for later stage. Or you have one company who says, I want to have my own incubator for my own projects. That's the model of Paul Wurth. Mm-hmm. So nyuko is completing this ecosystem. And we give projects to the loft, to ALD, because what we do is the early stage, so we take most of the risk. We spend a lot of time with projects because there are a lot of questions you have to cover, so it takes more time. We take more risk. And our classical founder doesn't have any money because he quit his job or he's doing this aside. So we don't have the easiest part in Luxembourg. Now we have early stage, not solvable, very risky and very time consuming. But still we do this job because we also receive funding from the public ecosystem. And once the company is kind of set up, they have customers and they have a start of a presence on an international scale, then they can enter this accelerator for later stage startups. And they don't take the risk. That's the tricky part. ALD, Paul Wurth, and all of the others, they take startup when they already have clients, they have a finalized product, so they don't take the risk. We do. That's the difference. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes.
How do you find those engineers? Because if you are on the later stage,
yeah,
before making the project, how do you find engineers here?
If there would be a simple answer, I would tell you, but there is no.
Nah.
There is no simple answer. What I can tell you is what works is the network. So that's why you need to develop good friendships with engineers early in your life. That's how it worked for me. And most of the startup I work with, when they have engineers, they are friends. Usually they know each other from a previous life or something, or they trust because another friend got them together. But so it will come mainly from your network. I suggest you go and search for this developer either in Germany, France, or Belgium, because they're not very far from the frontier. You got lots of engineering school with engineers that are wanting to work for startups, but they don't have so much offer. In Paris, there is plenty of startups, but in the region, Grand Est, or in Germany, Rhénanie-Palatinat and Saar, and even in Belgium, we don't have that many startups. So finally, if you got a good offer here, you can have a chance to find other developers in other cities. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another question?
Yeah, I have another one.
Please.
More focus on the
No, no.
history.
Mm-hmm.
When I see your story,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about Jean-Marie Messier and all
We
this.
talked to Jean-Marie Messier.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So, what was his influence on this trend and on your projects?
Well, when we first discussed with Vivendi Universal,
Yeah.
they were just loving the thing because that was exactly their strategy. Jean-Marie Messier was for Internet everywhere, IoT. Listen, this product was fully IoT. It's an IoT product. But so Jean-Marie Messier, his team said, well, this is the future. We should get connected with the startup right away. So we made first tests with them. They were very, very good, especially Vivendi Universal, the music part, not the rest, because we were doing the trial with the music part, and then the video would come later. And then when Vivendi was in a bad situation, we already had changed business model. We already were selling parts of the technology by doing engineering for other purposes. So we saw it, we said, well, too bad for them, but no big deal.
Okay. There's no other question of... Yeah, please.
Okay. So when you say that you would help entrepreneurs securing investment, at what stage they look at the company? Do they help entrepreneur getting money at the idea stage, prototype stage, pilot, or?
All of them. You got all levels. Your question is, how do you find this money, or
No.
is it possible?
Which?
You could help entrepreneurs to.
You mean in nyuko?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Usually, you need to have a finished product that you can sell, because investors, early stage, it's hard, especially in Luxembourg. You go in the Silicon Valley, people, they don't care. They have missed Google, they have missed Twitter, they have missed Facebook, so anything that comes, they would put some money on it. It's almost true. It's not completely that easy, but it's really quite easy. When here in Luxembourg, it doesn't work the same way. People have money, so no problem about finding a big source of money, but they are risk averse. So you need to get them, reassure them, show them that there is no way this will fail, and so that means that you need to have a customer, or at least a working prototype.
Yeah.
That's where we intervene here.
Yeah. So if somebody is having a working prototype, the money is coming from the individuals, or from the corporates, or from the strategic investors?
All of them. What we do here, we work mainly with business angels and some family,
Offices?
Yeah, family offices. But there is also a venture capitalist. Of course, everybody knows Mangrove and Expon. So yeah, we have a few like this, but it's not mature. The ecosystem is not mature in terms of venture capital in Luxembourg. It's just starting. But in terms of business angel and family offices, here there is a strong potential. We just need to get the people to connect this project. There is a way to do it. There is a methodology, there is some steps you have to follow, some a presentation you have to make, and there you can make it. So I think for early stage, it's not bad here. On the contrary, it's a good. But what you should be talking about, I don't know what is your startup, what were you thinking of, but I learned the hard way that your startup shouldn't be too much capital intensive. If you can make money from day one, it's much better than the two other startups I did were driven by this idea. I want to make money from day one. I don't want to make my dream disappear because I cannot find the 37 million I need to launch my production batch. No, I don't want this anymore. I was disgusted. So why? I mean, we missed it. If we got this money in 2001 or 2002, we would have taken a big chunk of the market. And because the equivalent of this product is the iPod Touch. You know, with a touchscreen, because there was an iPod before, but an iPod was nothing to do with our stuff, because our stuff was much more simple to use. So what was really revolutionary in this ecosystem was the iPod Touch with a hard disk and a touchscreen and an online store. First product in the market to do this, iPod Touch. It was launched in 2007. So you see, my product was 2000, ready? So 7 years later.
And the last one.
Yes, looking back to your story, Martin, would you say that you were too much of a pioneer? I mean, you were inventing things which come back to life 7 years after.
Mm-hmm.
So does your example tell us that you don't have to be a pioneer to really run and make a big company? You have to go in the second run and just take all the money from the market?
Not sure, not sure. No, what I learned from it is that it's not a problem to be in advance. What you have to just manage is the time. Because if we had managed the time and we could have waited a little bit more, or if with the if we can say anything, but let's say if the internet bubble wouldn't have burst but just six months later, or if 9/11 would be in 2002, this problem wouldn't have appeared at all. So some factors do not depend on you, and you have to realize it. What you have control on, fine, work on it. But you have to realize that there are some things you won't have any control on. And I don't think it's a question of timing. The earlier you arrive, the better it is, because you learn. You learn a lot.
Please.
Just out of curiosity, you started, as you said, in early 2000, and now, let's say, now you're working for nyuko, and in 2017 the environment changed, right? So we got information technology which actually improved and it lowered the entry barrier to start a startup in a market. So based on your experience, how did the life cycle of a startup change compared 2000 with now? There's more competition, so how that evolves, and now the startup should act right now, to enter into. I was quite impressed when you told me that you raised, for instance, that money without the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be the same right now?
I would think so, because it was just not out of nowhere. I mean, we had so much documents, so much very, very concrete information, so data. We even had the prototype working on the shelf. We could press the buttons and it would work. So there was you couldn't doubt the fact that we could make it. There was no question about this. So the prototype was not there, but everything was ready, and we just need the money. If you can show this, and they really realize it, and they see the potential, and if they trust you, because you remember, the people who bought my stuff, my first share, were the people who have been working with me for 4 years before. My boss at Sony, he saw me working. He knew what I was able, so invested into me. The first investors, they invest into you because they trust you. And even if you have a prototype and if you're not good, you will fail. What you need is to find the people who will really support you. And this one learning. Make sure that the guys who are around your table, that if you enter into your capital, are the right one. I was lucky because when I made my first round of capital, we had much more investors wanting to come than we needed money. That was fun, a good situation. So we evaluate our company very high, and we said to the investors, you don't want it? Don't take it. So I don't care. There is another one waiting. So it was a good situation to do it. And so that's the thing. The more you get people to want to buy your share, the more you have control on your valorization, and you can choose who you work with. I remember I had two business angels that were really picky. They were discussing the valorization and asking. I mean, they were only like 10% of the amount of money and they were taking 90% of our management time, asking questions all the time. It's like, I was so happy when I told them, okay, stop talking. You want it or you don't want it? They say, yeah, but no. You want it or you don't want it? Yes, we want it, but no. You want it or you don't want it? Okay, well, I don't want it this way. Fine. We don't want you. That's how you should do it. And I'm not being snobbish or whatever. I'm just, you have to make sure that if you are going to be working with 4 or 5 years with investors, you got to be able to work with them. And what I loved with my first investors, there were Caisse des Dépôts et Consignations, very good one. I had Jung et Rubicam aussi, which is a big publicity company, a commercial company. I had very, very interesting investors, and they were very smart, and they were giving me good insight. They were calling me to give me things. They were not picking on anything. They were just trying to help. That was a very, very good spirit. And one day we did a mistake. We hired a guy that was not the right one, and they told us, this guy does not belong to your company. Kick him off. And so that's good. They trusted really the team, and they saw it grow, and that's what you need. You need to have very good investors. And it was good because they gave another time. Huh? They gave twice. So it means they trusted us. Any other thing?
So, on this positive note, I would like to thank Martin for
Thanks
sharing with us his story and stories, and also your experience. And I guess around the beer, you will also can tell a little bit more about it.
Just concluding by one thing. If I'm doing this job, it's because I love entrepreneurs. That's the basic stuff. I love to work with entrepreneurs because they are passionate about what they do. They work on innovative stuff, and they know what they work up in the morning, and they are trying to help people out because they are trying to create a solution for a problem that people have. That's what I love about this job. That's why I love to listen to entrepreneurs more than I like to talk, actually. I'm very happy to share this experience, but I would rather have you telling me about your own stories and see how I can contribute there. So that's what we need in Luxembourg. We need passionate people that really believe in their project and that will drive the whole ecosystem. Because you need to be kind of crazy to do it here. Huh? But craziness is an ingredient of success. So let's keep it this way, but just try to stick together and help each other because we need to be strong there. Huh? Thank you.
Next question. I'm so sorry, but just remember, you said you had 2 startups at the same time?
Yeah.
How
3.
is it possible? Because
Not at the same time. After.
After. When at the same time when you were also creating incubators for Wildevai?
Yes, one. One of the startups I had the job. Yeah, I had the job, but I had no girlfriend at that time.
Okay.